questions to ask RHEA. I campaign with the confidence rising. I told WDF don't switch, good times are coming on even deep diving. Fan cams, reactions, watch along, still the pride of London thriving. The Eagles of South, they flying. Keep your eyes on us, we ain't hiding.
Yes, guys, welcome back to TACT-EAGLE, the show we talk about all the tactics for our upcoming game. The next game is Crystal Palace vs West Ham at the London Stadium. As always, I'm joined here with Dan. How's it going?
Yeah, all good. I gotta be honest, this is probably the most demotivated I've been in a while to look into the tactics. But alas, we're still here. How are you, JC?
I couldn't agree with you more, mate. I completely forgot we was even doing this show today until a few hours ago. I was just enjoying my life, not thinking about Palace whatsoever. But now look, I'm back again. But
yeah,
it is what it is, man. We do all right at the West Ham at the London Stadium recently, but you know, I'm sure that that's going to turn around just as fast as we made our way up to Luton last week. So
definitely. I mean, having a look, actually, that's a good point. At the West Ham Stadium, we have not lost there since 2018 when we lost 3-2, December 2018.
And that was Haller's bicycle kick, I believe, right?
No, that was when it says that Robert Snodgrass scored. Robert Snodgrass, Javier Hernandez, and Felipe Anderson.
Oh, I remember that. Yes, I was there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But recently, our record there's been all right, but you know, that's definitely going to turn around very quickly. Let's move on swiftly to the predicted 11. Before we go through the predicted 11, I'm going to run you through some injuries. So, injuries for West Ham are Jared Bowen. And that's it for West Ham. Injuries for Crystal Palace is Mikel Antonio. He's a Palace injury because he helps us all the time. He's a Palace injury. So, injured for Palace is Mikel Antonio. Ratsaki Eze, who is predicted to be out until the Chelsea game, it says on here. Tompkins, Henderson, and Czech Doucouré, who's got an Achilles hyperextension, is what it says here, and they predict about 6 months. So
wow,
why not?
That's bad, really, when you think about it. Because, like, to me, a hyperextension is like bad, but like if you hyperextend, say, your arm, like generally you're fine pretty quickly. So like, it's just mad how like Achilles injuries just like proper ruin people.
Yeah, it's pretty dreadful, but you know, it is what it is, man. Unfortunately, our best midfielder's gone, so we're gonna have to do something in January, and I think we'd be a bit stupid not to. I've gone a bit rogue today in the predicted 11. Here's what I've gone for. So I've gone for Johnstone, Mitchell, Gay, Richards, and Anderson at the back. I've gone for Richards in the centre back because I think for some reason our defence has been letting us down a little bit lately. I think that potentially they've been performing well, but not as well as they have been previously. And this right back problem is the only reason why I've done what I've done. Purely because Doucouré is out, so we're going to need a bit more defensively anyway. And the fact that Ward is just so bad, and the fact that he's going to be faced against Kudus or Paqueta, who are going to absolutely rip him to shreds. I can't see Ward playing. And I know that Anderson does play right back for Denmark. I believe he's their captain as well when playing there, so he's got experience there. I saw it when he was at Burnley, that he did drift over to the right-hand side to help Wardy out a hell of a lot. So if we're going to play anyone at right back, play Anderson there. Richards, it's his time to prove himself, really. I think that if you don't take this chance, I'd happily put Anderson back there and slap Ward there. We'll never see Richards again. Midfield, I've gone with 1-6 and 2-8 if Lerma, Ahamada, and Jeffrey Schlupp. And then up front, I've got Ayu on the left, Edouard up top, and Michael Elise on the right. Dan, would you make any changes to this?
If it was me and I was and Roy wasn't in my brain, I would maybe. I actually don't mind Richards out on the right if he's not asked to go forwards. So it'd be more like a free at the back in possession. That's probably the only thing I would change there, really.
Yeah. I'll put a caveat here that this is Roy Hodgson. So what he will do is this. So you go like that, like that, like that, and like that. That's what Roy would do.
That's exactly what I put as well.
So this is what Roy will do. Just so you guys know that that's potentially not what we want. But West Ham, very strange. They play in many different kinds of formations, but I think the one that they set up on the pitch is more of a 4-1-4-1. Areola in goal, Emerson, Aguerd, Zuma, and Kufau at the back, with Alvarez sitting in that number 6 position. A midfield 4 of Paqueta, Ward-Prowse, Souček, and Kudus up front with Danny Ings. Are you in agreement, mate?
Yeah. I mean, I had Bowen up front, but I didn't realise that he was definitely out. So yeah, that's exactly what I put.
Cool. Let's go into comments very quickly. Big
Big
up
up, Neil.
Chairman. Train problems on Sunday.
Oh, is it? I didn't know that.
Well, it's a bit of a madness to get there in the first place. So this is
true.
This is going to make it even harder. Big up Cody. Big up Brush. Alexander, big up yourself. Ings up front. Don't forget a move. Hammer.
I'm basing Ings based on because he's come on like when they've taken Antonio off. It's been Ings who's been the one that's come on.
With this guy, you're gonna have to play a whole different style of play. When Ings probably can do the hold up play, but just not as well. So it's probably an easier swap for them, and also he's fit. So if he's fit, you've got to play him because he's not going to be fit for much longer.
Mm-hmm.
Big up Rich.
Big up Rich. Before
the show, Roy needs to let Francis play this game. I'd like him to, but he won't.
Yeah.
Agree, Cody. Maybe not, but get 20 or 30.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's two ways France is going to play, we're either winning comfortably or we're getting smashed. And France ain't coming on any other way.
To be honest, I think this game in particular, because of how physical they are, I would worry a little bit. If I was going to give him game time of any of the games we've played, it'll be Bournemouth.
Mm-hmm. Going to record the match preview and going to release it tomorrow. Not going to be fit for much longer, poor Danny. I think that's probably the reason why that we didn't really try that hard to go in for him. But I'll take the lead here. Let's go with the defense first. Well, you may have said cheese, but talking about their defense does not make me feel like that. So. All right, so 4-1-4-1. Some stats for you before we go. They're very happy not having the ball. Basically, they've got one of the lowest percentages of possession in the whole Premier League. I think second bottom. And they've also got the least amount of passes in the whole Premier League as well. However, they have the highest percentage of all those passes being forward passes. So exactly 50% of all passes that they do in the game is all defensive. I mean, it's all going forwards. And that could be a part of maybe a little bit into Dan a little bit here, but their goalkeeper kicks long 87% of the time. So they hardly ever kick out. So in possession, they don't want the ball really. So that's all the stats I've got for you guys today. But West Ham. Some pundits, some fans have labelled David Moyes' approach to football as anti-football, which is nice to hear. The first thing when you're trying to talk about something and be excited for it, because I'm not excited for this whatsoever. Because they play in a 4-1-4-1 formation and they love to play in a mid-block. Basically, what a mid-block means is that they're far enough away from their own goal that they can run and recover, but they're also not really in the opposition half. So, for example, with how they're set up, they're very similar to us. They'll sit in their own half, right at the edge of the half, but they won't press outside of that. So they'll let you have possession in your own half. That's fine. But the second you get into their half, that's when they'll start to press you. One thing about David Moyes is that all his teams, they like to be very tight, very compact, and not leave any spaces in between the lines. So, for example, obviously this has been made a little bit bigger so we can see clearer about the dots. However, if this is going to be a bit more realistic, I'm sure that it will be about this kind of space in between hues, for example. So purely for the video purpose, it is going to be a bit more spaced out, but they like to stay as tight as possible. Try and stay touch tight to as many players as possible is pretty much the West Ham way. And West Ham, they're a team that hunt in packs. So if we're passing the ball around, and let's say Gay's got the ball, dribbles forwards, Husey makes a bit of space here. What will happen is that their whole defense hunt in packs. So they will make it their one and only mission to try and stop the ball going into the midfield here. That is their number one priority. They try and stop the vertical pass from the back line into the midfield into their area. They do not want the ball anywhere near here. So what will happen is if Gay has the ball and this pass looks on because he's made some space, Kudus will press, Souček will come over, Ward-Prowse will come over, and Paqueta will come over. Granted, that leaves loads of space around here for a switch, for example, but we'll talk about that in a way of how to beat them. But this is what they'll do. They'll pull over here. So this pass is impossible. This pass will be very difficult, and the only way to really go is to go long and hope for the best. So that's what they want. They'll try and do this as much as possible so the ball goes out wide. That is where they want the ball. They want the ball out wide as much as possible. I think because they know that they can back their fullbacks, because their fullbacks are very good defensively, and it's easier to defend when cutting in from the side because you've got less actual space to work with. Sitting in now, I'm just seeing that's wrong.
It's left over from last week.
Yeah. But yeah, they want the ball to go out wide. They do not want you to play through the middle of them. And this is probably where we're going to really, really, really miss Cech and Eze, because this is a game where you probably need dribblers, people that can pick up the ball and take on a man and run through him and then slip someone in like Edouard, for example. This is how we would like to play, but we don't have that privilege in this game, unfortunately. West Ham, when they are in a mid-block and we're not trying to force anything, they play in a sort of a mix between zonal and man marking. And I say that because the term is, I think, man marked by zone, I think the term is called. And basically what that means is, let's say, I've got some boxes here. So let's say that these are the areas in which these players will, like, obviously that this is their zone. And what it means is basically, let's say Ayu's here and he's in Kufal's zone. In the zone, he'll man mark Ayu. Here, they'll be going around together. Oh, let me make it like this, it's easier. So anywhere in this square, Kufal will follow him around. However, the second that Ayu doesn't want to be in this square anymore, and he'll go over to Zuma's square, for example. Zuma will follow him around, and Kufal will then begin zonal mark in his area again without anyone in there. That's basically how they defend. It's a very strange mix, but it seems to be working very well for them. Let me just get rid of these squares. Oh, not Zuma on the wing, Ayu on the wing. If the ball is out wide, for example, as I said, everyone will switch over, and the wingers press very quickly. The midfielders don't press as fast or as aggressively, but the wingers will sprint out straight away to their fullback or their centre back. These guys will be the pressers, so Paqueta, Kudus. They're the ones doing all the legwork in this game. And if he presses, that is Kufal's job to then get in front of the winger. They do not want this ball to go through. However, a way around it is lob it over the top. But because of the intensity, most times the left back will kick it out of play, will play it straight to Kufal, and then they're on the break. The whole way of defending is, how do we defend the ball but then still set up to create a very dangerous counter-attack? But Dan will talk about that, I'm sure, in a minute. I think the most prominent way of defending, I think most people understand, is Alvarez. The whole game, he will just follow around the striker. So against us, he's going to have the easiest game of his life because Edouard doesn't move and Edouard doesn't make any chances for himself. So, for example, if Edouard's coming over here to Zuma, Alvarez will follow him, and then it'll be a 2-on-1 situation. Cool. Where West Ham get a little bit, I would say, reckless, let's say, let's put everyone back in their positions again, is if they do all of this stuff where they're moving around trying to stop the ball to go inside, if the ball does end up inside here, for example, let's go to Ahamada. If Ahamada picks up the ball and turns, the second that he picks up that ball, their centre-backs are not afraid to break their line. So obviously you can see the line here, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's their back line. They're not afraid to break this at all. So if Ahamada's got the ball, turns and starts to dribble, Agued will just run straight towards him, and they do it a lot. They just slide tackle and absolutely clean out the man. It happens so much. You see it with Agued will do it, Zuma will do it. Even if they are kicking out from the back, their centre backs don't actually defend the striker because Alvarez does all of that. Their centre backs are purely for the midfielder that's trying to break through. So if Hughes has got the ball, Zuma's going to clear him out. If Ahamada's got the ball, Agued's going to clear him out. If Elise's got the ball, Emerson's going to clear him out. And I think they've got one of the highest yellow cards per game because of their method of defending. I think it's like 3 or 4 averaged yellow cards a game. It's something like that. But it's purely because of this is how they defend. It's a bit reckless, but it seems to be working for them.
Mm-hmm.
And the final thing is, it is a defensive thing. Normally, it's Mikel Antonio, but even though it is 2-on-1 here, Antonio will run his socks off and stay up as high as possible to pin the 2 centre-backs back, because the one thing that West Ham don't want to do is they don't want to go into a low block because they don't have the space to manoeuvre around and be as aggressive at defending if they're in a low block, because if they're too aggressive, someone does a nice little step over, then you've got a yard of space. You can have a shot and maybe score. That's why they try and keep it in a mid block, and the striker is the main reason for that. If they push them back, if they push the centre backs back enough, they can't get forwards, obviously. But how do we combat this? We try and make them go into a low block. That is probably the first one I do. Make it so that their striker's offside. If he's offside, they can't use him. Simple. they've got some outstanding issues, such as back post defending, but I feel like almost every team has that problem because of how aggressive they are. For example, let's say Ayu's got the ball and he's running in over here. Kufa will come out, Zuma will come out, Aguero will come out, and then Emerson will pick up the space. But then you got all that just for Michael Elise.
Yeah.
Because
and obviously,
remember,
he'll do a lot with that space.
and remember, Alvarez is still going to follow that striker no matter what. So if Edouard makes a run inside here, he's going to follow him. And historically, Ward-Prowse doesn't track back fast enough. Souček doesn't track back fast enough. I don't know enough about Kudus and Paqueta when defending, but from what I've seen about Paqueta at Lyon, I don't think he ever defended the ball. So if we can maybe, like if we're in this situation where we're running in, if Ahamada can make a run in here, he'll have this kind of space. Elise will have this kind of space. There is space in behind. And that is one of them. Run in behind, drive at your players, and look for back post. And I alluded to it earlier. I alluded to it earlier with the fact that the midfielders will they'll all come over to one side. So we'll do that. Just playing a switch. Switching the ball. It's really simple. Switching the ball, running forwards, and granted this probably isn't going to be Anderson, but we know how good Anderson is at crossing. Early ball in. He can easily whip that in. Edouard, maybe. Ahamada, maybe. Like, it's how they defend is very simple, but it's very effective. Let me share some images before I finish up. So we can see it here against Brighton. So I think this is Webster who's got the ball. He passes it down here to Veltman.
It's not on, JC.
Oh, is it not? Aha.
There you go.
I think the one on the ball is Webster, and he passes it out wide to Veltman. And what you can see is Antonio's making his way there. Paqueta runs in, Souček runs in, and I can't remember who that is. But they all run in here, and it gets to a situation where Veltman is here, and he's got 4 people surrounding him, throwing their bodies right in his face, like throwing his bodies right in the face. So his only out was to kick the ball here for Lewis Dunk, but Dunk isn't aware to it. Estupinian's too far away, and basically Bowen does this with his run, picks up the ball and runs down the wing. So from Brighton having the ball, they're on a counter-attack very quickly just because of one press trigger. Seeing that he's only got a right foot and that he's not confident to take on someone. Mm-hmm. Bear in mind, there are a few, I think most of my images are from the Brighton game, but I think it's because it shows pretty much everything they're good at all in one game. And I think another thing to make sure about is West Ham won this game 3-1 and it only had 22% possession. Here's the Chelsea game. As you can see, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then Antonio pinning the back line again. They try and make it impossible to pass through. So where can Reece James go from here? Really, that pass is not on. That pass is not on. The only pass that's on is Gallagher. Look, that pass is not on. Can't get there either, and can't get there because the left back will sweep up. So in this mid block, they do like to be very aggressive with it. Here with Brighton, ball gets switched out there, picks up the ball, as you can see. Alvarez with Ferguson, the winger, has come inside. I wouldn't say Zuma's close enough, but this is Jared Bowen sitting inside in between the centre back and the right back. Ogbonna, touch tight, not touch tight enough in my opinion, but there's still a guy there. And this is what I was telling you about with Souček and Ward-Prowse. They're not the fast. I don't think they're fast enough to get back. They're both lacking a little bit here in the running back department. Ball comes across, and look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players literally diving in front of the ball to stop this from going towards the goal. Granted, Areola's a great keeper, but it's still a lot of bodies in the way, and there's still like not really anyone free. So this is probably the best chance that Gilmore could have had. Like, there's no one to pass to here, really. Like, potentially over here to March, but I think that's a bit of a stretch in this situation. Another one, as I said, they like to stand in front, intercepting. This ball's trying to go here. It's a bit of a thread of the needle pass, but we've seen Brighton do it many times before. But Ward-Prowse reads it, grabs it, and literally the second he does, boof, over the top to Antonio. So it's very simple, very effective, very aggressive, and it just shows how quickly they want to grab the ball and throw it up front. And that is probably where we lead into Dan's segment.
Nice. Yeah, so I'll do West Ham's very intricate attack. But shout out to Rich first for this excellent comment, and very true. Yeah, we can't break down a biscuit. Not even like a flimsy biscuit, like a cheap digestive.
Oh.
Not even a Pringle.
We couldn't break down a flake.
Oh, we actually couldn't. Well, I'll just do some more comments before I continue. Rich is going to pre-record the match preview tomorrow, release tomorrow. Oh no, we got here. Zaha FC, yeah, they drew 3-3, I think, didn't they, in the end?
Yes.
Gallagher and
Zaha could have won it. He should have won it, to be fair.
Fair, I didn't watch it. Yeah, Copenhagen Gallagher takes second. So are United? Well, I guess United must finish fourth then.
It's out of United's hands if they want to get through. I think Copenhagen have to beat Gala. That's the only way they can go through.
Okay.
And I think they need to beat Bayern Munich as well. So it's pretty much out of their hands.
That's pretty horrendous season so far for them. Nuts game, yeah. Well, for a 3-3 game, I mean, fair play. It's not bad, is it? Complaining the entire game, I mean, that's Will for you. Long ball up to Edwards so he can lose it at his feet. Might be better. Are you up front? To be honest, I wouldn't really mind that. I quite like the idea of having a fluidity between, let's say, IU starts on the left, Eddie stays up front, but during the game maybe they swap over sometimes. That's ideally what I would like to see. And I'm surprised we didn't see that last week, because I do think Eddie plays a lot better with someone up front with him. And I think if IU maybe comes more to the middle with Mitchell overlapping, for me, I think that'd be a good idea. Loud enough game. Yeah, of course. Good player. Smash the like button. Thank you, Rich. Ario sweeps up less than any goalkeeper I can think of. Yeah, he's not. To be honest, I feel like West Ham don't really have scope for them to really sweep up a lot anyway, because I said, like, they do like to, because of the way they defend. And I think him being a good shot stopper, I think that's what they're after, really, and someone who can maybe ping a goal kick to a roughly decent area. And
that's exactly what you can do.
Yeah. Our low blocks are terrible. It's going to be a long day for us, unfortunately. Well, I'll go over that. Go over that now. So, I don't have any images today, so I've only got the formation thing, mainly because, to be honest with you, it's not I wouldn't say West Ham's attack is particularly imaginative. So that's why I haven't really done it. / I also just haven't really had loads of time. So that's why. So West Ham. Well, what if I told you that West Ham 23% of their expected goals generated this season was purely from headers? So that's not in. So obviously those headers have to probably come from some sort of cross, some sort of long ball into the box, maybe like a set piece. That's not including any shots that have been assisted by a header, or any shots that may be a volley that has come about from a set piece or a cross, but it isn't a header, it's just a volley. So straight away we can see what they're good at. And to be honest, when you consider the players that they do have, Antonio's very good in the air, Souček's very good in the air. When they've got a set piece, Zuma's very good in the air, Aguez very good in the air. Even Bowen, deceptively, I think is very good in the air. But fortunately for us, Bowen is not going to be there. Ings, I'm not 100%. I'm trying to rack my memory of whether Ings is actually any good in the air. I don't really remember it so much.
I don't think so.
I feel like he's very much like more like on the floor kind of player. And like he's a very good poacher.
He can score with his head if he doesn't have to challenge centre backs, for example. Yeah. Like if the ball's floated in perfectly and he doesn't even have to jump, he just heads it, he'll score. But I don't think he's got it in him to go toe to toe with a centre back in the air.
No, yeah, I agree. So their main option. So let's just collapse our formation down a little bit. So it kind of looks something like that. Maybe just bring these a little bit over, just like that. So let's say like we are in a low block. I will try to break this down into like transition, build up and then what happens in the final third. But to be honest with you, transition is literally 99% of the time is literally Areola. If it's a goal kick, he'll hit it long. Let's start like that. Actually, let's go back to the beginning. So that's generally what will happen. Areola will hit it long. What they do like to try and get it so that the opposition players are maybe thinking about pressing, so they are in these positions. And generally what they'll do, very similar to what I said about Everton the other week, is that they'll just hit it long. And what they'll do is that they'll try to hit, say, Ings. Now, in their best case scenario, they would have Antonio and they would have Bowen, both of whom are very good at holding the ball up, both of whom are very good at running channels. So let's say they aim it for Souček and then Souček tries to head it onto Ings, for example. If that's Antonio, I feel like there's a lot more chance of Antonio or Bowen running this channel than they do. And so then Ings does. So that's something that will work in our favour. But that's generally what they'll try to do. They'll try and get that flick onto a player, or they'll try to get it so this player is able to head the ball or hold the ball up and place it to someone around them. Something I've noticed that they do as well, which I think is quite interesting, is again these games I've watched have been with Antonio and Bowen, so bear that in mind. So let's say Areola's kicked it long, and if Areola doesn't kick it, occasionally he might roll it out to Aguez, who basically kicks it long as well. One thing, I think is quite interesting is that what the striker will do, or the player will do, is that they will try to, for example, Gay would head the ball in anticipation that Ings is going to challenge for it. But what that does is that it means that Gay just clears it, and normally it falls in this kind of position. So what that gives them is that chance. So as long as Alvarez and Ward-Prowse, actually I think it's more like the other way around normally. that gives them the opportunity to try and pick this up. And more often than not, they try to get it so that Ward-Prowse is the one that picks it up. So what that means is they'll probably try and hit Mark Gay, who is worse in the air than Anderson, in my opinion. And I think what they might do is try and force Gay to just try and head that as far as possible, as a defender would. And I think they're hoping that it falls to Ward-Prowse. Not to say Alvarez isn't creative, he is, but Ward-Prowse, as we know, is a very decent deep line playmaker. And that's just that's basically how they kind of get it to this position. And there isn't really much more to it. Occasionally, like if they've got the ball maybe a bit further up here, and let's say Zuma's got the ball, they might try and pass it through the middle, but it's not really that common. Like JC said, the majority of their passes tend to be forward passes, and that I think is the reason why. One thing that they do like to do, though, is that they do like to switch the ball. So bear in mind, their end goal is to basically have, say, someone on this side of the pitch. This won't even necessarily be Paqueta. It might be Benrahma. I've seen play there, especially with their midweek game in Europe. They might change it up a little bit. So the end goal is for them to kind of get in this position here, and then they'll cross it. That's basically their end goal. Or win a foul in this position, and then Ward-Prowse, who again, as we know, is a very good set piece taker, combine that with their aerial prowess. You know, you've got a recipe for, like I said, the majority, 23% of their expected goals has come from headers, whether that's from a cross or a set piece or just a long ball into the box. So sometimes what they will try to do is that they do like to switch the ball. So I believe they've actually got bearing in mind that they've got some of the fewest passes in the league. They actually switch the ball very regularly. I think they've actually got the most switches of the ball in the league. So it's basically just, the ball going from one side of the pitch to the other. And that's what they'll try to do. So if they're down this side, they'll try and work it. One thing that they do like to do, again, whether Ings will do this, I'm not too sure. But what they will do, say, if Antonio or Bowen are playing, because Antonio and Bowen have both played as wingers in the past. So Bowen played as a winger at Hull, and Antonio played as a winger at Nottingham Forest. So a lot of the time, what they would have done is they would have drifted over. So, like, say that was Antonio would have drifted over, and then Bowen would have occupied the space in the middle, or vice versa. Sometimes maybe Bowen would come over, and then Antonio would occupy the middle. That's what they'll try to do, and they'll try to get some sort of overload by doing that. And if they do get, say, Kudus in this position from that overload, and he's got Tyrone Mitchell one-on-one, I would fear for Tyrone Mitchell, because Kudus is an excellent dribbler. But again, he'll just try to fizz that ball into the box. Same principle. But if they can't for whatever reason progress down here, then Ward-Prowse again, like I said, if Benrahma or Paqueta or whoever's out wide stays wide, Ward-Prowse is more than capable of switching that pass. So is Aged is also capable of doing that. So there are things to watch out for. And obviously what the benefit of that for them does is that, say Benrahma's here, let's say it's a one-on-one versus Joel Ward. Well, I mean, he could have a one-on-one against a slug and Joel Ward will still lose. And Benrahma's going to try and work a bit of space. He doesn't necessarily even have to go past Ward. He's just got to work enough space to then try and get that ball into the box, basically. Or again, win a foul, and then they can get the ball into the box. What are some other things they might do? So some things I have seen them do, which I'm not going to say that they only do hoofball, because they don't just do hoofball. But again, I feel like this hinges very much on Bowen playing, because Bowen is very technically gifted. I have seen him sometimes play like little give and goes in this kind of area of the pitch. So I don't know, let's say Ben Rama's come inside, Kudus has come inside. Those three players there, maybe not Ings, but like if Bowen was playing, Kudus and Ben Rama are more than capable of, or Paquetá or whoever, are more than capable of having or doing like little give and goes on this edge of the box. That is something as well that I have kind of seen, but it's not performed as often, I would say.
Yeah.
The only other thing really to watch out for, again, I feel like Mikel Antonio and Jared Bowen are really pivotal to how they play, because a lot of the time as well, again, like they're more than happy to run. Both of them are more than happy to, if I can find the thing, I've forgotten where it is. There it is. They're more than happy to run these channels in the half spaces all the time. Them two are very mobile forwards who are happy to be there. They're happy to be there. They're happy to be there, and there. Ings, on the other hand, I don't think he is as mobile, so I'm hoping that's going to really play into our favour. How do we combat this? I mean, I think if they're going from a goal kick, I don't think we need to necessarily press them. In that sense, because I think their build up is literally they're just gonna kick it long anyway. So there's not really much to it, if I'm to be honest. However, I would say if they are in this kind of position and Zuma's got the ball, I think they probably I reckon it would be worth putting in a bit of trouble. Zuma, I'm not as sure about his passing ability. Again, is actually a decent passer, so that is worth noting.
Very underrated centre back, I think.
Zuma. I think he's a fantastic centre back, and like his aerial ability is unreal as well. So that's something that I would consider. To be honest, in terms of what we can do, the only thing I can really say is just to try and get it. So I would say Ings maybe drifts more to this side of the pitch. The reason I say that is because I think Anderson's way better in the air than Mark Gay is. And what I would like to see is saying that Michael Elisa I thought was fantastic defensively. I would like to see these three players here helping out, or these two helping out Ward, because Emerson will overlap. And I feel like if you've got a good 3-on-2, that'd be good. Ings, like I said, I don't think he's mobile enough to really want to come over here like Bowen and Antonio would.
He does like to stay very central when he plays.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how he scored all his goals for Southampton. Yeah,
exactly. So maybe even necessarily we don't even need. Maybe Hughes can maybe stay inside to watch these kind of potential diagonals in here, but that's it. Also, the only other thing really I can say is just make sure we don't give away any silly fouls. Any silly fouls, I would say anywhere between anywhere between there and I would say about there, because like I said, I mean, Ward-Prowse doesn't have the most goals direct from a free kick for no reason. He's very good. He's very good at set pieces.
He does love a free kick against us as well, don't they?
Exactly. And when they've got a corner as well, they don't just rely on their aerial prowess. Well, something I've seen that is quite interesting is that I'm not going to put everyone over there, but let's say these guys are up there. So what they'll have, in addition to some other players around the box, what else they might have is that they might have 4 players here, all stood in one position, which means that our players all then have to mark them, or they have to man mark or whatever. But then what they'll do is that they'll mix up where they go. So sometimes Ings will go that way, sometimes Ings will go that way. It just introduces a bit of chaos into the routine. So Anderson's watching Aged, for example, but Aged might go that way. He might go that way. So Anderson doesn't know. And also as well, these players kind of act as like an accidental block. So, for example, Ings could go through there. Hughes will have to follow him, say, for example. But because Aged's there or our own players are there, maybe it might mean Ings might get like a slight half a metre in front of him to then maybe head it in. that's something to watch about. So yeah, so like I said, just don't give away any silly fouls. I would say like in that kind of area. And like obviously, I'll say try not to give any corners, but sometimes that's unavoidable. So, but besides that, there isn't really much more to it, really.
All right. Well, score predictions then. I think I threw myself under the bus last week, so it's your turn now.
I'm going to say the thing is I'm really like negative considering the Luton result, because that was, let's be honest, that was dreadful. The thing is, I think we've got a good record there. They'll have played on Thursday. They won't have Antonio and Bowen, so I'm actually going to say a draw. I'm going to say 2-2, because it always seems like we draw 2-2 there. 2-2s now.
I was going to say 1-1. I think that, well, obviously we have had, I think, two alls there, I believe, that I can remember. Or was it 3? I think it's 3 actually. But yeah, I think that because they're missing Antonio and they're missing Bowen, that's going to really impact them. Granted, I think that Kudus will make up for the fact that Bowen's not playing, but I do think that Antonio to Ings is such a huge downgrade with their way of playing. And I feel like to incorporate Ings into their team, they're going to have to play a whole different style of football, which I know they're just not going to do. So I feel like Ings, as long as we can trap Ings, he's going, or even just follow him, I don't think he's going to be effective at all in this game.
Yeah, I think so.
I think 1-1. I think that Elise has got that magic touch to bring something to this game. And they've got Kudus, who plays on their right wing as well, who has the magic touch to bring something into this game. So I think that I'll say 1-0.
Definitely. My thinking is that, like, I think Kudus is a very good dribbler. Physically, I think that's why he hasn't played as much as maybe people thought. That's my only thinking there, really. But I mean, looking at the record so far. So last season obviously this is at West Ham's ground. We won 2-1. A year before that, we drew 2-2. Year before that, we drew 1-1. Year before that, we won 2-1. Year before that, we lost 3-2. Year before that, we drew 2-2. Year before that, we lost 3-0. Forgot about that. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we've actually only lost at West Ham's ground since we've been back up. We've only lost there twice. We've only lost there twice, so twice in 10 years. I mean, we do have a decent record there.
All right, let's hit some comments before we finish up. SC Crystal Palace has got a ticket, can't wait. So have I. Too bad Roy isn't created with a tactic, Dan. IU swap would be good, though.
Yeah.
Lots of headers. Glad you have Lerma. Yeah, without Lerma, this team would fall apart completely.
That's true. His aerial duels will be really important.
Yeah, Elise's defending against Luton was incredible, and it has been, I think, towards the end of last season as well, wasn't it? He really started picking up, doing that a lot better.
Absolutely. I mean, the progression he's made defensively has been really impressive.
Yeah, tough day for Lerma. Kudus is a baller, loves cutting inside. Scores from worldies as well.
Yeah.
Our back line has to be playing like it was at the beginning of the season. Needs to wake up. I'm going 2-2, massively optimistic. Chairman says 1-0 as well. Cody says 2 on West Ham. Just not trying to get my hopes up anymore.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Arsenal 5-0 up against
5-0
at half time. They only,
Wow.
I think Arsenal only need a draw. Arsenal just flexing at this point. Chairman says, me and JC were there for our 3-0 defeat. Was that the Andy Carroll bicycle kick? I was there. That was depressing.
Oh, that was the 3-0. Yeah, that was the 3-0. Oh yeah, of course it was. Yeah, I forgot about that.
But yeah, guys, thank you very much for watching this TACT-EAGLE. We are very depressed as a football club because of the Luton result. However, I hope we can turn it around, but I'll take any point against West Ham, really.
Absolutely.
Couldn't care how we done it. I just want to see us play well, get a point, and move on. We've got to do something against Bournemouth. That's our do or die game, I think.
Yeah.
Because after that,
100%.
I don't think we're going to win a game or even have a chance of winning a game until maybe Brighton.
Well, that's it. And even after that, I think literally every single team we play is like a genuinely really difficult team.
Mm-hmm.
I think next week we're going to do Bournemouth, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we won't do TACT-EAGLE for the Liverpool game, but we'll do TACT-EAGLE for Bournemouth.
All right, cool. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Dan, is there anything else you want to say?
No, just up the Palace.
Eagles!
Eagles!